So, do you want a game with music and art? It's very simple. Please follow this tutorial and you can get music, you can add in your own art, and have different sound effects like this. So, you've decided that you wanted to change the sprite in your game, and you maybe want to add a background too. This is quite easy. So, as you see down here, I have a bunch of already imported random images and sounds and musics in my game here. So how do I add them in? How do I get them into my game? So for art, it's quite easy. So I'm going to go to my player object, and you see there's a sprite here. Currently, mine is set to the random Godot icon. All I can do to change this is to click on the image I want, and I can drag it in to the texture slot here, and it will automatically switch it out. That easy. But what if I don't want to do it that way? What if I want to be awkward? I want to do it a different way. Well, we can also click on here, and there's an option to load or quick load. If you click the quick load option, you can then choose it from the menu here, so I can switch it back, or you can use the load option and do it through the files that way. If you have a lot of like different folders or whatever, you can do it this way. It's probably a lot easier than quick loading. So there, I can switch it. That easy. But I want a background for my game. I don't want my players to be running around on this weird grey void. Well, that's also quite easy. So if we go to the Node 2D up here, we can then right-click, add child node. But what are we looking for? What do I want? What's the background? Well, if I search background, there's nothing really for a background apart from this parallax background, which is quite a complicated thing. We don't want that. We want a still background. You know, it's a top-down game, we want the grass or something in the background. So what it is a texture rect. So like the correct, which I've added in before in some of my movement tutorials and things, the texture rect is the exact same thing. But instead of just being one solid color, we can add our own texture in. So to do this, like the sprite, we can load it from here, or we can click on an image, which I'm going to use my YouTube banner for, because it's the first thing I found, and I'm just going to drag it in. Pop, there it is. So it's a bit too small. I want it bigger. Or maybe it's a bit too big. You want it smaller. How can I change the size? If I go to layout, and then I go to transform, this menu here, it's got two changes in it. You can then find scale, you can find rotation, the position, whatever, the size. If you want an exact size, then you can change it here. But I think the best thing to use, if you just want to quickly double it in size or whatever, you can then change the scale here. If you change one, it changes both because it's linked. If you want it to have a different ratio for when you size it up, size it down, or if you just want it to one side to be bigger than the other, you can then click that button, this icon here, and it'll break the link. See here, it's got like a broken chain. And then if I change this bottom one, it's now really squished because the ratio is different. And then if I link it again, it will not reset it. It'll keep it at this size. So then if I change this to 4, you see it's still got the same ratio. It's still got 2 to 4. If you want to change it, you have to unlink it and then change it back to the same number and then link it again. And then I can fix it. I can change it all the way back to 1, 1. There you go. And if you're wondering how I'm moving it, you can go up here. There's the move tool here. And if you have the texture rect selected in the scene up here, you can just move it around however you like. You can also use this mouse tool to move it if you like, but it's probably easier to use the move tool as well, because then you can move it on one axis using the arrows if you want to be very precise with it. But as you see here, it's now on top of everything. How do I fix it? How do I have it so it's truly a background and not some image plastered over everything? Well, this is quite easy as well, because if I just click in the hierarchy here and I drag it all the way to the top underneath Node 2D, because that's the main scene thing, as you see, everything should pop on top here. That's because everything on the top of the scene view here is the first thing that gets placed in the scene. So the first thing we want placed is the background. And then we want the player and the enemy to be placed on top of that. So we put the texture rect on the top, and then we put the players on top of that. So they get placed on top of the background. You can also, if you double click up here, it lets you rename it. So if you actually truly want to call it background, you can, which I know would make it easier for my brain. I don't know about you guys, but as you can see, it's now called background. But the game's a bit, if I play it now, although it looks nice, it's a bit weird just mindlessly moving around. I want some audio in this game. I want something to listen to whilst I'm playing. If when I die, I want something to play. I want to be able to hear a sound to indicate the fact that my character has died. So if I then go to node 2D, I can add a child node, and if I type in audio, there's 2 audio, or 3 audio players technically, but this audio player 3D is for a 3D game. We can't use it in our game. This is a 2D game. So which one of these 2 do I use? They're both 2 different things. So as you can probably read here, as I'm hovering over it, this audio stream player 2D plays a positional sound in the 2D space. This means that wherever this sound is in the scene, if the player moves further away from it, it'll get quieter and quieter, just like in real life. If somebody's shouting in the other room, it's going to be quieter if they're shouting right next to you. So that means this one here, this audio stream player, is, as you can read that, it says non-positionally, which means it doesn't matter where the sound is, it can be placed, 1,000, ages away from our character. It will always play at the same volume, depending on what you have the volume set to. So I'm going to use this non-positional sound, because if it's a death noise of the player, I don't think it really matters whether it plays really far away from you or not. I think I'd rather hear the sound whatever. So, you see, I've added it in. It doesn't matter where it appears in the hierarchy, it will always play. It will play the same. So, how do I add sound to it? How do I actually get this sound to be in the game? Because this is just a player, this is not the actual sound. As you see up here, there's nothing here. So, the same as the texture, you can either drag, see this hurt noise, I can drag it in, or again, I can use a quick load and I can add it that way, and it'll do the same thing as here. Again, you can change the audio from here, the volume, so you can change the volume here and reset it, and you can also play the sound whilst it's in the editor. So if I click here, it'll automatically play. But I want it to actually play when the player gets hit. How do I do that? How do I change it? How do I make it so as soon as a collider's hit, it will play indicating the player has died? Well, as you see here, I've already got it in there from a bit of testing, but what we need to do is, if we drag it from here, and then we just add .play, and click enter with the 2 brackets on the end, exactly like this, underneath the area body entered. Area 2D body entered, that I added from my collisions tutorial. It should play as soon as this body is triggered. And seeing as it's in the node, make sure it's on the node and not the player, because the player gets deleted using this Q3, so you will not hear it. So then if I click the replay or the play button up here, and then the player dies, you can hear the hit noise. But I hear you asking, how do I get music? How do I get music into my game? Well, you can do the exact same thing. If I go node 2D, add child node, and add the stream player, because you want to hear the music everywhere. I then double click it, and it adds it in, so I have it player 2. You can also rename this if you like. I'm going to rename this one, because I haven't used it in code yet. I'm going to rename it to music. And then, again, I can go up here, I can drag the music from here, or I can go in here and click quick load, and then choose the music. And the same as before, you can play it from here, whatever you want to do. change the volume, change the pitch. But if I play the game now, there's no music. How do I get it to play as soon as the game is the player clicks play? Simplest way to do that is literally just click this autoplay button here. Now, as soon as I load, the audio plays, and you now have music. Again, it's a bit loud, so I can change it here. I'm going to put it to -3, I think. And then it'll play a bit quieter. It's probably still a bit loud. So if I do -5, there you go. Now it's sort of more of a background noise, and if I get hurt, you'll hear it over the music a bit better. So, you're probably thinking, well, that won't make my music loop, and if I go to the settings, it doesn't let me loop. The loop mode disabled is grayed out, and I click it, and I right click, and I can do anything, and it won't let me enable the loop. So how do I make the music always play? So if we listen to my music here, it will go through the same tune, I think it's 3 times, or 4 times, before it then finally ends. And it'll do the same when in game, whatever. So if I want to make it loop, I can't do it through the actual thing here. This is the actual audio file itself, is, you know, the actual audio file that we imported. That's its settings, not the settings that Godot can change itself. So what we have to do is go to the music here, and if we go to import, it pulls up the file and the file settings. As you see, loop mode is also disabled here. What we want to do is click on the disabled thing, and if we click forward, I think this is the one I've used before. If you click forward and then make sure you click re-import, otherwise it doesn't work, it won't save the settings. So if I click re-import, it then saves it. As you see, there's no star next to it. I can go back to the scene view, and if I click play, we can hear the music, and if we wait a little bit for the music to loop, that's the second loop. If we keep going, it should loop and play constantly until the game closes or you end the game, however you end your game. See, there you go. It is looped through to the second set, and it will just keep playing, and it will keep playing until, like I said, you just end the game. So it's that simple. So you can basically keep doing the same things. If you want, you can also, if you want the music to play at a certain time, you can also use things like colliders and whatever to play it when a certain thing happens, and to stop playing it, because you can quite easily access the audio files through the scripts. So, anyway, thank you for watching. And this is a quite a simple topic, but it's very helpful to know and have a decent tutorial you can look back on and go, yeah, that's how I do it. Well, how silly of me. But yeah, I hope you enjoy this one, and please comment if there's something specific you want to see or what you want to see next, and I'll be sure to read up on it and get something out to you guys. So, thank you for watching.